Hello, everyone. My name is Kennedy, and I am your host of Her Fulfillment Podcast, where we fully feel our feelings while fulfilling what's meant for us. It's a little tongue twister there. Actually, took me a lot to kind of break that down and get that out, but we got it out, y'all. But anyway, this podcast is pretty much everything that it says is in the name. It's fully feeling your feelings, of course, while doing what you're meant to do. I broke down fulfillment, full, feel, mint. So it's just kind of like a three layer to what's going to be talked about. I really wanted to start this podcast for people who were very similar to me and just be able to give them some sort of advice and give them some sort of insight and just a community built around people who are like me. So I'll start to describe myself so you can see if this is meant for you. And even if it's not meant for you, I'm sure that there's going to be gems that you can take away from it, even if we're not completely similar, which I'm sure majority of people aren't going to be completely similar to me. I understand that. So I just want to just open up this community to people that are just open-minded and that may have some of the same backstories or similar backstories, some of the same characteristics, the same mindsets. Like, it's very open. But I will say that I do want to structure around fulfilling things in a sense for people who are a little bit more like me in a sense. So we'll just jump right into it so you can kind of understand what I mean. Okay. My name is Kennedy, of course. I am originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I do live in Houston, Texas as of now. I've just been in the entrepreneurial world for a while. Like, honestly, since I was in high school, I was really into just being my own boss, always just having that freedom of life, freedom of my finances, and just be able to just live how I want to live. Now, before I continue, I just want to let you know, like, once again, I don't want to steer away from the fact that there are people that aren't like me as like an entrepreneur, for example, but I right now I have a corporate 9 to 5 job, so I really know a lot of aspects all around what's centered around just being a woman. I mean, outside of just your job, like this podcast is really just to feel your feelings. I mean, I want to touch on it a little bit deeper, but let me just continue. One thing I like to do is just jump into something, but I'm going to continue with it. So, yeah, I mean, I just always had the entrepreneurial mindset, and you know, sorry guys, I did not take notes on what exactly to say. I just wanted it to flow. But yeah, I'm 24 years old and I'm just learning life. I definitely have learned a lot so far, and I know it's so much more to be learned. But I just feel like I've touched on a lot of different points in life. I mean, like, probably a lot that you can think of. I probably have already touched on that point somehow, some way in life. But anyway, so I just wanted to just kind of give the basics of that, just basic stories. And I'll talk more about myself, of course, as I go through the podcast. But I wanted to just let you know up front, I'm from Atlanta, live in Houston, entrepreneurial, and that's it. That's not like my resume. This is what I tell people. People are like, okay, so what about a man? Child, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so yeah, back to it. So originally, like I said, this podcast was just meant for people who are like me. So one thing I've struggled with consistently in my life since probably being a teenager leading up to a young adult is just feeling my emotions. That's been my hardest thing, is to just feel. And of course, as I went through, I started a spiritual journey and started to understand myself, understand who I am deep down outside of the surface level, and just get to know myself and love myself. I would say I feel like I do know myself, but it's so much more to be learned. I mean, it's a lot that you can just learn from your experiences, right? So this podcast is really going to be centered around just feeling your emotions. And as someone who kind of grew up a little bit not feeling her emotions that much, and more so just putting it on the side because of society, because of family and friendships, just having your heart on your sleeve has always been a negative thing. I never really wanted to get to that point. I never wanted people to feel like I was just too emotional. And then like having that entrepreneurial spirit, I was like, business wise, you can't be a woman and be emotional. Like, what are we in, like the 1950s? Like, you can't do that. No. But I'm kidding. But no, seriously, it's really hard. So it's like society has always just put that off on you. Like, you have to choose either one. Do you want to be a businesswoman, or do you want to be an emotional stay at home type of woman? So that's just how I look at it. And I hate that it's like that, but that's how I feel like it's presented in society. So the feeling part of fulfillment is going to be just feeling those feelings, feeling everything that you feel, the emotions, the rage, the sadness, the overwhelming feelings, happiness, the joy. Really just touching on every feeling and not pushing it to the side because you're too strong to do so. We're not doing that. And that's just how I kind of grew up with that, right? So that's the feel part. And then the full part is also, it touches a little bit with the feel. Like I said, you want to fully feel those feelings. So you want to feel them completely, not just feel them for a moment. You want to fully wrap yourself into those feelings, right? So I feel like that's very important that we fully feel those feelings. When you love, right? You shouldn't just love someone and just be like, okay, well, now that I love you, like, I'm just going to just keep it at that and keep it very surface level. No, you want to love deeply. You want to love wholeheartedly, right? So why shouldn't we do that with all of our other emotions? Like, yeah, like, I mean, anger and fear is looked at as like a weakness, right? And it's like people feel like you shouldn't feel those. But if you genuinely feel anger, you need to sit with that. I genuinely believe you need to sit with that. Like, if something really, really makes you that upset, you need to get to the root and the cause of it. You shouldn't just feel that emotion and then just be like, brush it off and like, okay. And then it becomes a continuous cycle, because if you're not fixing whatever it is that's causing that anger, then it's going to continue to happen, right? So we have to fully feel our feelings, but also the full part is going to be centered around just whatever makes us feel complete, like full, like makes us feel full, right? So like I said, the entrepreneurial spirit, that makes me feel full. I know that a lot of people have a lot of different ways of what makes them feel like full, you know what I mean? Some people put themselves into their work, whether it's like, working in a job or working on a business or having a family, is a lot of people's what makes them feel full. And I feel the same too, because I feel like my family also makes me feel full, right? So yeah, I just feel like fully taking that in is very important. You want to be full in whatever it is in life that you're aspiring to do. And that can be various settings or various fulfillments. Like, you don't have to just choose one, right? And by the way, I want to kind of throw it in there, what the definition of fulfillment is, just so that we're clear. So fulfillment is the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted. So just like I said, whatever it is that you desire to do or would desire to have in life, I feel like you should first feel that emotion, feel what it is you want to do, and then do it completely, like do it fully, right? So that's where that comes from too as well. It's a lot of layers, like I said. And then the last part is meant, right? So meant is what you're meant to do. Because what we want to do and what you're meant to do, we want it to align a lot of the times, but who's to say that that's going to be? I mean, I know who's to say. I mean, he's right here. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just in a literal sense, like, who's to say that's the same thing? So whatever it is that you're called to do, what you're meant to do, you need to do that as well. And then just put all of that together. I mean, the feelings, the feeling of being full, and then the feeling of doing what you're meant to do, was meant for all of us to do. You know what I mean? I think that's very important. And I feel like, once again, like, as someone who grew up not understanding their feelings, as someone who grew up, having to be strong all the time, being that strong friend, being the one that's always there for everyone, but like who's there for them? Or just having to hide your feelings in private because you didn't want it to be looked at as a weakness. And I just feel like this is for you. This is for you. And that's why I said I didn't want it to seem like it's just so specific, because I feel like even if that's not how you actually are or who you actually are, we've all felt like that at some point. Somebody has made us feel like that at some point. Somebody has always like shut us down and made us and shut down our feelings and invalidated them. And who's to do that? Like who are you to do that? You know what I mean? So that's definitely how I wanted this podcast to go. Now I can speak personally about what I wanted to go versus what's meant for me to do. What's meant for me to do is inspire everyone that comes into contact with my content, myself, even in person. I just always want to leave a lasting impression on someone. So I feel like that's what I'm meant to do, is just to inspire and teach others. And then we're just going to go ahead and circle to the next part, outside of the introduction, to where I got this inspiration to start this podcast, right? So originally I had planned to do this podcast last year, and I was in a different point in my life then to be able to do the podcast. I don't know. It was just a lot. There was a lot going on, right? So I never really found the time to be able to do it. And then just recently, I will say last year, actually right around the time I wanted to start a podcast, I started to get more in my faith. I just started to connect with God and go back to church. That was something that was important to me, because I just never really went to church as an adult by myself. And then I just started going back in like April of 2023. So it's been a year since I've just really been into church. And since I started back in April of last year, I have been into church almost every week. I've been consistently going to church, whether it's online or in person. Honestly, 95% is online. I'm going to be honest. COVID is very much still real, and traffic is very much still real. Lord, I love you. But yes, so back in April of 2023, I really wanted to start this podcast. I started going to church, finding a church out here. I had moved to Houston in August of 2022. So I started going to church and just listening to the word and starting to have my own relationship with God, but I was still not where I needed to be. Okay. So just recently, I would say at the end of last year, I started to get closer and closer. And I always wanted a relationship. I just didn't know how to have that relationship. So I kept trying to push myself. I was progressing into my relationship with God, but it was not where, like I said, it should have been. Everything is where it should be, but where I would like it to have been. So in the end of 2023, early January, that is when I started to have these like revelations of me being close with him on a like an interpersonal level, right? So recently, I would say like very recently, in the last few weeks, I've just been very connected with him. Like all day, every day, it's like connecting with God on some sort of level, reading my Bible, something that I was very against, but we're going to talk about that later on. Something I was just not connecting with. That's something that I've been connecting with lately. And it's been a journey. It's been a very big journey. So I say all of that to say that God really inspired me to put out this podcast and to be able to connect with people, because I am what holds me back. I know I am. And that happens for a majority of us. We are our biggest critics. So when I was living in this worldly sense of like, hustle, but like, I'm hustling like almost backwards, because I'm doing the work on the back end. I'm just not putting it out. I'm not putting myself out there. I'm not putting out my content. Like, I'm not doing that. So God was just like, I'm now at this point where I'm trusting in him and I put my full faith in him, and he is my savior. Jesus Christ is my savior. And he just tells me what to do. I'm on this podcast. I'm doing it right now. This is all because of him. Like, this is something that I've been working on for an entire year. I've had this name for an entire year. I've been wanting to just get on here, and I'm just like, like I said, I knew what I wanted to do, but I'm like, I just never did it. And then like Jesus just wanted me to really include him in this podcast. And I'm just like, I don't know how to fit him in my podcast. I was actually kind of nervous because I'm like, I don't want to scare people away, but who am I scaring away that does not relate to me? You know what I mean? If you don't relate to Jesus Christ, that's okay. Nothing's wrong with that. If you don't want to listen to the podcast because it involves religion or involves some sort of faith in Jesus Christ, then don't listen. Like, why am I trying to please people I don't even know? People that are not, like, you know what I mean? So I'm no longer worried about scaring people away, perhaps. I'm more afraid about scaring Jesus away. Like, I don't want to just do this without him. So I made sure to include my my scripture a little bit in here, and just go all in. But I definitely am going to include Jesus. I listen to a lot of just Bible verses and a lot of scriptures and a lot of religion. I would say New Age religion a little bit more. I love like the faith-based content and faith-based podcast. And I'm definitely inspired to be there at that point. I want to grow with you all and show you all just how close you can be with God and how faithful you can be, and still just be able to fulfill your purpose. That's really, really, really genuinely what this podcast is for, is to fulfill your purpose. I'm almost getting emotional because it's just, for one, I did say we were gonna fully feel our feelings, right? I said that. I can't contradict myself, but God has just been so faithful. He's just so faithful to me. And I am just inspiring others through him, but also I'm so inspired by him, right? So it's just crazy. Like, he just put this on my heart to just get up here and do this, something that I probably wouldn't have done if he wouldn't have put it on my heart. And I just want this to reach people and have a message that's just positively hitting someone, even if it's just one person. I just want one person to listen to the podcast episodes and just be like, you know, this hit me. Because I do that all the time. I'm like, I'm listening to podcasts and I'm just like, wow, like that really sounds like something I needed to hear. Definitely believe that God uses other people to send communication and messages. Obviously those are called prophets, but I do believe in just the Holy Spirit just showing up in multiple ways. And I want to be able to be that vessel for others and just reach others while growing my relationship with God. So yeah, it turned a little bit emotional, you know. I mean, on my past life, yeah, I'm a Capricorn. I don't know if y'all really into zodiacs. I was really into zodiacs. I'll touch a little bit more on that later, but I am a Capricorn, and we are not that emotional. Like, we don't like to wear our heart on our sleeve. We're not there. So just even me just being emotional at that point, I know that's God. I know that's God because I don't cry. I don't cry, let alone on camera. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I see people on Instagram cry, I'm just like, I don't say anything, but I'm just like in my head, like, couldn't be me. And look at me over here crying. Like, you know what I mean? That's how real God is. Like, that's how real God is. You can't control yourself when you have that light and that spirit in you. You cannot control yourself. It's no point in trying to control yourself at that point, right? So that's just overall what Her Fulfillment is about, how I was inspired, how I got inspired to do this, and just a little bit of my story onto how I got to this point, okay? Next thing I want to talk about is New Age. New age spirituality. I want to make actually a whole episode about this, but for the sake of me just introducing myself, I want to just kind of let y'all in on how I, again, got to this point with my relationship with God. So I started my spiritual journey back in the end of, like towards the end of 2019. I came out of a very tough situation with like my friendships and my relationships with people. So I just was turning to a lot of new age. And if you don't know what new age is, I don't have anything to like look up the definition for you. So if you want to, you can look up the definition. But basically, new age practices are just what like self-help and like things that we will find on the social medias trying to say to uplift you. So as far as like crystals and spiritual definition, I'm not even gonna try to say the word, but like basically like more like spiritual practices, like I said, crystals. What is it? Smudging, which is using sage or Palo Santo. Just like self-healing, medicating, like everything that you would think about it just in a spiritual sense outside of religion. That's just what we call new age, right? So I was very much into the new age when I found out about it. I'm just like, wow, like this is me. And I think that I definitely see why people don't talk about zodiacs, because I used to, when I learned about it, I used to be like, why are people like such haters over zodiacs, other than like, oh, this doesn't relate to me. But I realized it's almost like a gateway into spirituality. Like once you get into your zodiacs, you're like, oh crap, I know about myself, right? I know my whole chart. I know my whole birth chart. I know all of this. Like once you get into that point, you start to get into everything else. And I was very into it, like very deep into it. And yeah, it just got to a point where I just relied on the universe. What's crazy is I brought God into it. I'm thinking that in my head. I'm like, I can have God in on this. Like this isn't like just straight witchcraft type of thing. This I can have God. I have a spiritual relationship with God. I feel like that's what every spiritual person says. I have a spiritual relationship with God. I have a spiritual relationship with the earth. I have a spirit, like that's how we roll. Like that's how we think. And I'm not going to just condemn anybody and say that's wrong. But when you find Christ, you realize you really can't think like that. That is not, you can't think of both, because you're idolizing something. And if you're not idolizing Christ, you're idolizing everything else. So, and kind of once I got to that point, I feel like it did help me grow in a lot of different ways, but it did push me to certain consequences that I had dealing with that, thinking that I could control the narrative of everything. And like I said, I didn't really speak on this, but if you kind of heard a little bit about it, I have very bad control issues, like control. I want to control everything. Like I wanted to control my entire life. Like if I could control every aspect of my life, I would love to. I'm a control freak down to the T. So not having that control, being in the new age, you're able to control everything. They're teaching you that. They're teaching you can control everything. Just use your brain, use your mind, think positive thoughts, meditating, which, like I said, I'm not knocking none of this. I actually love to still meditate. Like I'm coming out of this now. You got to understand. I'm a baby Christian, really. I'm really coming out of that new age, because just a few months ago, I was very new age still, but I was just learning about Christ more, right? So I say all of that, say it because when you want control, when you want a certain thing, and that practice, or whatever it is that's self-fulfilling for you, you're going to do that. And that's why this isn't the self-fulfillment podcast, because if I would have probably made this when I was supposed to make it, it would have been self-fulfillment. I'm not supposed to swear, man. When I tell you, this would have been the self-fulfillment podcast if I would have did this back in April of 2023. That wasn't what it was supposed to be. So just understanding that I'm growing out of that. I'm past that point. And yeah, new age for me brought a lot of awareness and it brought me closer. I mean, I've learned so much. Even as far as astrology, I learned a lot about myself. Like, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people don't believe in it, like I said. I very much think that it's true, but I don't think that it fulfills me how I'm supposed to in this life anymore. So I actually just unfollowed all of my like Capricorn. I followed all of my Capricorn pages and stuff on social media. I still like, if it pops up on my social media, I'm just like, oh, cool, like that's it. But I am not trying to idolize being a Capricorn, because I was definitely idolizing Capricorn. I'm like Capricorn gang, da, da, da. You know us new gens, we gonna rep our zodiacs like it's a like it's a gang sign. Like we are repping our zodiacs, period. Like that's what it's about. So I just don't feel like that fulfills me anymore. And yeah, I'm just on to just giving myself to Christ completely. That's where my journey is now. Like I said, I'm a baby Christian, so I actually love that term. I don't know why, but baby Christian is just very fitting. So it's just weird. I don't know. It's weird because now I brought everybody into that spirituality sense, that new age spirituality, and I feel like I gotta get them out, y'all. Like literally everybody around me, my friends, are into this new age stuff, and I'm just like, now that I finally get on it, it's like a weird spot. I'm just like sitting there like, now you know about your houses and your rising sign, girl. I'm not even watching it no more. I can tell you all about it, but I don't want to. So, that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm in a very strange part of my life, because I haven't announced, that I'm devoting my life to Christ, because truthfully, I'm very scared. I don't know. I'm not scared to do it. I'm just, because I'm definitely, I would want to say I'm all in, but I know it's a deeper all in that I can be. So I don't want to just say it, just throw that out there. But I'm definitely in with Christ. I would say that I'm definitely in. I'm just nervous about disappointing God. I don't really want to disappoint him. So I want to be able to get everything out that I'm supposed to, but I know that that's not how it's supposed to. And that's back to the control. This is back to the control. If y'all have control issues, please let me know on my social media. It's Kennedy Kardashian on Instagram. KENNEDY KARDASH, which I feel like I need to change that too, but we'll get there. And also follow the podcast. I'm going to have a page called Her Fulfillment. Hopefully it'll go, but if not, I'll list everything below. But yeah, so if y'all have control issues, let me know, because I can't be the only one that want to control every little thing. And then it gets deeper than wanting to control others. You just want to control, because you want to control yourself, really. Really, you want to just control yourself. You want your outcomes to be favorable. And it's like, he's the only one that can control. God is the only one that can control anything. So I got to let that go. I got to stop trying to outthink God. Like I'm telling you how I want to come before you, but this is your world. I'm just living in it. This is God's world. I'm just living in it. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I'm definitely coming out of that new age mindset of just thinking I can control the outcome. I can control my life, can do whatever I want to do, because I have the authority to do so. I definitely feel like a lot of those practices did bring me closer to him, though. Like knowing that I have the freedom to do so just made me want to grow closer to God, because I'm like, I have the freedom to do so, but look, I'm not where I want to be. Why am I not where I want to be? Why did my last businesses not work out how they were supposed to, Lord? Because I'm missing something, and I'm missing something that I can't attain myself. I can't get this by myself. I need you. So there's that. Let's take a little water break. It's a little thirsty. Y'all, my water almost gone. My water is almost gone because I was trying to move this mic. It was over here. I was trying to move it. The whole cup fell. And I can't stand the fact that my Stanley cup is always leaking water. It spilled all over. Like, the enemy do not want us on this podcast, y'all. But that's a whole nother episode. We're gonna get deep down into it. Like, we're gonna talk about real life stuff in my next coming episodes. This is really light because I just want to be able to introduce myself, introduce everything. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, Let me just make sure I'm taking the correct notes. So I wrote in my notes how I really wanted to, or how I intended on meshing faith, feelings, and fulfillment into one. So like I said, that's pretty much everything that I've already discussed with you all. It's like my feelings, my faith, and my fulfillment, what I desire to be, right? So I really want to open that up to you all. I want to be able to connect with you all and just see where it is that I can be of assistance to. Like, where can I help at? Like, can I bring you closer to God, or closer to your purpose, or closer to your feelings? Like, how can I be there for you? I hope this podcast is a tool to help you get closer to whatever it is that you desire. You know what I mean? So, that's just where I intend to put this podcast, is to be that source of, or tool for anyone. I don't want to limit it to just people like me, to anyone that can take away, any of this information. So I just want to make sure that I'm touching on everything I intended to do. Isn't this such the cutest? Like, this is the cutest notebook. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." It's a Psalms verse, but it's like the sides are like a Bible. Like, it has like a Bible type of. So cute to me. I love that. But yeah, I just want to really I'm looking at my notes, but I really just want to tell y'all how I feel. I really want y'all to be on this ride and just see where this gets us. Like, I really have a very deeper message I want to put out outside of just, giving these tools. I want to be able to have like an outreach. I want to be able to do so much with this podcast and being able to just connect with others, like I said. So, just if you're able to support, just let someone know. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what to say. It's funny. I used to have a YouTube channel, and I feel like on my YouTube channel it was so awkward. But I'm trying to get on here and be a little bit different. So hopefully this comes out how it's supposed to. But yeah, I just want to be able to get this content and get this information out to y'all. So if y'all can help and support, that would be greatly appreciated. Share, like, follow is great. And just if y'all have any ways of reaching out to me, whether it's a DM, commenting on any of the platforms, then just reach out and let me know what you think. Let me know how this message translated to you. Like, what do you think? I would love to know your insight. I'm very big on constructive criticism, and I appreciate anybody that even just listen. Okay, even if you don't like me, if you listening to this, girl or male, thank you, thank you for just listening. Okay. And I wrote in my notebook. I'm being completely transparent. I wrote in my notebook God's message, and it was like the gift. It says the gift, and let love flourish. I wrote this last Sunday, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know completely what I was supposed to be doing with this message. I wish I did remember, but just know that, like I said, this is completely about just using this as a tool, as a vessel, something that, like I said, the self-help books and self-help podcasts and everything they're putting out, but I wanted to really connect that with faith and just having that faith with God. So I really want y'all to understand, like, everything that you're connected with and everything you're connected to starts not only within, but it starts through your relationship with God. And really, until you work on that, every blessing that you get is you got to understand, like, that. How do I even put this into words? I mean, like, your feelings are your feelings, right? But when you feel that feeling that God gives you, I feel like that triumphs anything else that you can feel. So even if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling sad, that minute you connect with God and you ask him for that reassurance and you ask him for whatever it is, I'm telling y'all, that's what I was missing. That control never got me nowhere. I'm trying to control my feelings, and they just showing up in different parts of my life down the line. Stuff that I'm holding on and not forgiving others for, or forgiving myself for, it's coming up down the line. And I want y'all to understand that, you know what I mean? Having a relationship with God is just priceless. Like, I just can't say this enough. I really just can't stress this enough. Like, this podcast is going to be, it's going to be God based. Like, and like I said, if that's not for you, then I completely understand. But this is about helping ourselves with God, the center of our life, period. And I want everybody to I want everybody to know I'm screaming, okay? But no. So yeah, but I really hope you all enjoyed this podcast. I really enjoyed recording it for you. We had a little ups and downs with this water, and then the people started mowing the grass and on a Sunday at 6 p.m. Why? I don't know, but I want to be consistent with this, so I'm going to try to get out weekly podcast. You could just check the social media to just kind of see what's going on. Like I said, you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, Her Fulfillment, and we're just going get this going, get this show on the road. I'm excited. It's been so long, y'all. This has been long time coming. So I'm very excited, and I really appreciate everyone who has listened to this, and hopefully we just connect. We connect more and more each episode, and I can't wait to hear the feedback. I can't wait to just hear, people being inspired. If you are inspired by this, I just can't wait to see that. Thank you so much for listening. I am your host, Kennedy, and I am out. Bye, y'all. Have a great. I think I muted myself, y'all. I said bye, y'all. Have a great week.